Hi, welcome to the Vineyard Voice, the island's longest running television talk show in the history of Martha's Vineyard. Over the years, we've had many guests such as Walter Cronkite, Mike Wallace, Art Buchwald, William Styron, and many other personages who visit the island. In fact, I even had Mike Wallace introduce the show during one of my programs where he said, "Hello, this is Mike Wallace. Welcome to the Vineyard Voice." And today, we are most honored to have as our guest Holly Bellebuono. Holly is an herbalist who has been practicing the craft for a long time, and we're so fortunate to have Holly come here to Martha's Vineyard to bring her craft with us and to share it with the island community. So please welcome Holly Bellebuono.
Thank you, William.
And thank you for coming in today.
It's great to be here.
And it's a wonderful program that I feel we're going to put together, but I've been visiting your website. What is the address of your website?
Vineyardherbs.com.
It's a great website.
Thanks.
And everything that you offer Martha's Vineyard. And this is a question that I feel people who are not that familiar with herbs, perhaps they've just heard herbal medicine or just the term, but what is herbal medicine, Holly?
So herbal medicine is kind of a strange dichotomy. It's part ancient, it's part contemporary, it's something that's been used for thousands of years by millions of people around the world, but it's also something that's not very familiar to many people today. In many ways, it's a fad today, along with the whole organic industry, and people seem to be jumping on a bandwagon, but at the same time, it's a tried and true, traditional, ancient system of healing that's been used by cultures around the world. The way I look at herbal medicine is it's first and foremost a relationship to the plants. It's a grounding and a connection with the natural world, especially the plants. Beyond that, it really is a system of healing. It's where someone who is concerned about their health, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical health, can reach out to something as common and simple as a backyard plant and find not only nourishment, but a real healing and a remedy from their pain.
And you mentioned that it is something that is pretty ancient.
Mm-hmm.
So I would assume, because we've only had modern medicine from the 1900s onward for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah,
I would assume.
Conventional or modern medicine,
Yeah.
what they call allopathic medicine, really just kind of came to the forefront to be a really strong system of medicine from the 1850s to about 1900 and
Mm-hmm.
since then. Before that, and even up till now in certain cultures, it's been plants and plant medicine, as well as other alternative therapies like water therapy or using certain metals or temperatures, which I'm not that familiar with. I work with the plants.
Yes.
And there are cultures all around the world, from Gabon, Africa, where I spoke with a woman who is a shamanic healer there who uses indigenous hallucinogenic plants, all the way to modern herbalists throughout the United States and England who get certified and trained in herbal therapy, phytotherapy, and really approach it in a clinical perspective, much more like a doctor would. So there's a wide range. But really the biggest use of herbal medicine is just people going out for their families, mothers and fathers, getting herbs for their children, harvesting wild plants or harvesting plants that they grew themselves in their garden, and making simple remedies with those that actually are very effective.
And to echo what you just said, Holly, we have pharmaceutical companies going to the rainforest of the Amazon to learn from the indigenous people about their methods of healing, and then trying to usurp or perhaps capitalize on their knowledge.
And a lot of that knowledge has been exploited. Some of it, thankfully, has been put to really good use. For instance, the wild yam, Dioscorea villosa of South America. It's not the wild yam potato that we eat, it's a different plant, but the root...
What was the Latin term?
Dioscorea villosa.
Well, it almost sounds poetic.
It is beautiful, isn't it?
Yes.
And the plant itself is really pretty, and the root has a constituent in a chemical called diasgenin, which is where the birth control pill got its start. So people realized that these people in the jungles really knew what they were doing when they were working with these primitive contraceptives, and then we've taken some of that knowledge and brought it into more allopathic means.
And Native Americans here?
Native American herbal knowledge is vast. There are so many Native nations who have used herbs and plants from different regions of the country to address a multitude of symptoms, and we've thankfully learned a lot from them. There are ethnobotanical studies of Native American healing that will just blow your mind.
Is that right?
Yeah. And again, it boils down to simple plants for simple remedies used by the everyday common person. Is really where the healing is at.
Well, just in these brief couple of moments, you know, it's obvious that you know what you're talking about. I'm curious, what is special about the products that you bring to Martha's Vineyard and that I've seen at the Vineyard Artisans Fair and the Whole Health Fair, et cetera?
And the West Missouri Farmers Market, I try to make all of my products are made from plants. They're all plant-based. I harvest about 80–85% of the plants that go into all my products. There are some plants that I just can't grow or harvest here, so I have to purchase them. But they're all handmade, they're handcrafted, they're hand harvested, they're mostly organic. I draw from a system that's called the Wise Woman tradition, and it's just hearkening back to women, particularly women, but any traditional healer who wants to harvest her own plants and make her remedies as a community service, really. My products are family-based. I use a lot of herbs that are very safe, very common. They're not herbs such as ginseng or black cohosh that are going to be threatened. The United Plant Savers is a nonprofit organization.
Excellent.
Based in America, and they put out a list of threatened and at-risk plants. And I try to avoid those plants because they're over-harvested and exploited, and we might not have them one day because of the fabulous popularity of herbal medicine now. And so I use a lot of weeds. There are a lot of common weeds that people take for granted or even try to eradicate that have a lot of healing capability in them, and so they go into my products. For the skin, for internal, as teas, as tinctures, syrups, liniments, salves, ointments. A great many ways that you can use herbs for general healing. So
what do you offer the community of Martha's Vineyard, our year-round residents or summer residents, relative to all these products that you're making? It sounds extensive.
There is a lot. There are many ways that people can get involved. Year-round residents, I offer winter classes so that people here over the winter, we can't get out and do herb walks. There's nothing growing, but you can come together as a community and discuss herbal healing. You can discuss health topics and different healing issues, and you can learn about the plants that not only are out there that you could buy at a health food store, but that you could manufacture yourself in the growing season and then keep it in your home over the winter and use for yourself and your family. For visitors, a really popular thing I do is herb walks, and I take people out in the woods, particularly up island, and we just walk and we enjoy the day and we look at the plants that are growing around, and I identify edible and medicinal plants. Usually plants that people, even from up and down the East Coast or as far as in the plains, will recognize and that will be growing around their own homes. And then they can figure out how to identify those plants, harvest them themselves, and make remedies from them. And I let people know that I do herb walks on their own property. So I do private herb walks around your own house. If you call me up, I'll come over and say, you know, let's take the next hour, hour and a half, and look at the plants that are growing right around you and how you can identify them and connect with them.
Well, that is something that I would certainly like to know about, because just to go in your backyard and be able to harvest something, medicinal herb or an herb that will cure something that perhaps I'm ailing from, or to lift up my spirits.
Exactly, and these are herbs that are growing right next to you.
Well, one thing I do, I like collecting Rugosa rose flower petals to put in my salads, just because of color and what they give us. And I do eat lamb's quarter and what is the other weed that everyone tries to get rid of with tons of chemicals? Dandelion.
Yeah,
they taste great in salad. And plantain.
And plantain, so powerful and so useful. All of these are considered weeds, and they're growing around most people's houses, and they don't realize that they're actually, these plants are useful and fun to get to know, fun to teach your kids, hey, kid, go out and get me some salad in the backyard, you know, for dinner. And you can come in with a basket of really nutritious greens that are growing right outside.
Well, when I was on my horseback journey, I ate a lot off the land, so therefore I developed, you know, in each region a little bit of knowledge about what I could eat. I never got ill. I stayed away from mushrooms.
Yeah, that's smart.
Is that
They're
right?
tricky.
Is that right?
Yeah, I'm definitely not a mycologist.
Oh, really?
No,
Okay.
I'm learning mushrooms. That's a vast knowledge there.
Now, you have been working on a book, and I understand Shambhala is going to be the publisher, and then you also have this film in the works. So tell us a little bit about your book there, Holly, and the title of it, too.
So the first one is An Everyday Herbal, and it's being published by Shambhala Publishers of Boston, and it should be out next year, 2012. It's called An Everyday Herbal because I want it to be appealing to the everyday person who wants to branch into herbalism or crafting or just working with their family on general health. I want it to be accessible and to use what I call the everyday herbs. And it's 12 or 13, a baker's dozen, of plants that are common, they're safe, they're easy to use, and they're versatile. So you could do many things with one plant, whether it's the seeds or the flowers or the root. Different parts of the plants can do different things in the human body. So that's going to be a recipe book. It's going to have a lot of the recipes for my own custom formulas, which I'm excited about. And the other one is, it's a documentary that I'm putting together, and I hope one day it will be a book. It's called Healing Across 6 Continents. And it is the culmination of 2 years of independent interviews that I conducted with women healers from around the world. It's their journey, it's their stories, it's the story of contemporary herbalism against the backdrop of traditional herbalism. And these are extraordinary women that I spoke with from all cultures and walks of life. And I hope that it will be an inspiration for people not only entering herbalism, but just looking at medicine as a whole.
I'm looking forward to both. The book and these women healers, herbal healers from around the world.
They're fascinating. It's going to premiere at Poly Hill Arboretum on July 6th.
This year?
This year.
Oh, how exciting.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to that. And then you also do, I saw on your website, where you do consultations, Holly. You know, could you elaborate on those?
Yeah, a lot of people will call me asking about remedies that they could take or problems that they may have. And though I have to stress that I'm not a doctor and I can't prescribe or treat, I can introduce people to herbalism as a therapy. And I work with people, the 3 primary issues that people call me with are stress, digestive disorders, and menopause. And I think pretty much anything, especially the last 2, relate back to the first, stress. Stress causes anxiety, and it causes a lot of problems that affect different systems in the body. And plant medicine can really address those a lot better, I think, than allopathic medicine. I think allopathic medicine is really wonderful for trauma, for emergencies, for broken bones, and for really severe bacterial and viral infections like strep and Lyme. But I think herbal medicine has a lot to offer, things such as sleep disorders, skin disorders, digestive disorders, menopause, the stages of life that people go through. And I really like to make a, not a ritual, but I like to honor the stages of life that people go through, whether it's menarche, a girl's onset of the menstrual cycle, or a boy becoming a man, or menopause, changing from a mother, not being a mother to becoming a mother, retiring from your career, These stages of life, these transitions are difficult, and it often helps to have not a therapist. I'm not a therapist, but I am a lifestyle coach and an herbalist, and in that capacity I can help people deal with these transitions and approach them in such a way that, that they're strengthened and empowered by them.
I like that word, menarche. It's the first time I've heard it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the menstrual cycle for a young woman.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's a whole phase. And so you, with herbal medicines, help to make that transition something that is not so traumatic, perhaps?
Right. Peaceful,
Okay.
smooth, healthy.
There's a lot going on biodynamically within the person.
And emotionally.
Emotionally.
Yeah, that's all transitions have that in common. And herbal medicine, as well as just talking through with other people, can really help.
So how long have you been involved with herbal medicines now?
16 years.
16 years. Over the 16 years, what have been your greatest pleasures in doing herbal medicine and herbs?
Many. I've had many pleasures. It's been a delightful experience, and it just keeps growing. Certainly one of the highlights has been having my children get involved. I have an almost 11-year-old and an almost 9-year-old. Their birthdays are this week, and they have been with me the whole journey. Ever since they've been babies, they have gone on herb walks with me, and they've been out in the woods and the pastures with me collecting and identifying herbs, and now my son, Gabriel, can identify a great number of plants, and he knows what to do with them. My daughter likes to help me blend teas. I see her as a budding chef, and her interest in herbalism is more culinary. But that's been a great pleasure, is to introduce my children to that and to see them flourish in an environment where they're respected and the medicine is respected, and it's an ancient healing art that they can continue in the next generation.
And a lost art, almost, but it's nice to see your children picking it up. And no matter what journey they go on in this life, you know, that's a wonderful tool for them to be able to refer to that knowledge, because when you're imprinting it so young, and what a great thing to share with your mom.
Yeah, I think they have a lot of
take
fun.
with you for the rest of your life. Well, you know, my mom, you know, and they have families as they grow up, and they'll say, you know, my mom, when I was going through this stage, you know, it can be applied in many ways. And with the way we're evolving at this time in history, humankind, you just don't know where they're going to take such knowledge.
Yeah, it's a big endeavor. I didn't have the opportunity to grow up in the bush or in the backlands, as many of the women that I interviewed for my documentary did, and they started at very early ages, 6 and 7, you know, being trained in Taoist mastery or in plant studies. I grew up, my mom is a registered nurse, and my dad is a pharmacist, and he started with pharmacology and looking at plants, but is really an allopathic, conventional kind of pharmacist. And so I wasn't introduced to herbalism until I was in my 20s. And really,
and how did that happen?
Gardening. I started out gardening.
Gardening.
And looking at plants from a landscaping gardening perspective. And then quickly realized that not only were they edible, and I had a lot of fun experimenting with edible leaves and flowers in the garden, and quickly realized that they were medicines too. And I started looking at the culture that I had grown up in, the Scotch-Irish mountain men culture of Asheville, North Carolina, and realizing that these people were very self-reliant, very inventive and creative, and they used the tools that were at hand for medicine. And in most cases it was plants, and I had never realized that before. I grew up in the suburbs and wasn't exposed to that, and so now it's a joy of mine to be able to expose my children and through Island Grown Initiative, various schools here on the island, to the fact that the plants that are around you are a resource for you.
Then you, as I understand, you did some traveling, spent some time at Findhorn.
I did.
Scotland. What were you doing there?
Just checking it out. Just traveling through. I was a woofer, a willing worker on
What's
organic
a woofer?
farms.
To explain to people what a woofer is.
You can sign up and...
sounds like someone who's working on a roof or something.
Yeah, no. I was a willing worker, which means you go and you stay with different families across the country, and you help them in their gardens in exchange for room and board.
And any other countries besides Scotland?
I did that in England, Scotland, and Ireland. And in Scotland, I got to go to Findhorn and experience that. And in Ireland, I was introduced to a family who I helped out, who introduced me to Newgrange, which was fascinating.
Yes, Newgrange. I've been there. It is a fascinating place.
Yeah.
No. The work with the medicinals, for instance, let's take Findhorn. You have people working there on many levels with plants.
Energetic levels,
Energetic
especially.
levels, spiritual levels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what a great thing to be exposed to.
Oh, it's beautiful, and
Yeah.
it's really the core of this healing philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of the botanics and the phytochemicals in
Mm-hmm.
plants, and I think the pharmaceutical aspect of it is one side, but the energetics and the spiritual nature of plants and connecting with plants and more of a shamanistic almost experience with it is the other side. And together, that's where you have healing. I think one without the other is not quite complete.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's that balance that makes it effective.
Really looking at someone like Andrew Weil or Carlos Castaneda, and those people that explored those other realms of plants. You know?
Mm-hmm. Anthony Huxley,
Mm-hmm.
George Washington Carver.
Yes.
People look at him as, well, he was a scientist, and yes, he was, but he was very spiritual.
Mm.
He approached his work with plants from a very energetic perspective.
Mm. But you know, I've always been curious. Would you like some water?
Yes, please.
Yeah. I was always curious as to seeds, the creation of seeds by the universe, and you know, the cosmic energy that creates seeds and the variety of seeds, and how elegantly the seeds can be translated into helping all living species, which they do on a cyclical basis, and as Holly's talking about, in our own healing. But any thoughts about, Holly, where seeds came from and, you know, the genome of seeds? I mean, we're not that complex genetically, but nature is, seeds are, microbes are, much more complicated than we are. But any thoughts about seeds and where they came from and how they are created so differently?
It's an interesting question. I did I created a curriculum for a local school here on life science. It was a biology curriculum. And part of it was seeds and studying seeds and how they travel and how they can make it so that they get from one place to another. And seeds are so complex, and I think we are seeds. I mean, we have seeds within us, and biologically we do as well as spiritually. I think the plants have a knowledge and a wisdom within them that we haven't tapped yet. It's not just electrical, which a lot of people have studied. I think it's a much more spiritual, deeper wisdom that is expressed through seeds, through leaves, through their fruits, and their movement, which we don't appreciate as much as I think we should.
And you're right, appreciating as much as we should, but also then we're looking at the hybridization and the mutation of seeds through corporate manipulation, and how there are people in various parts of the world who are making efforts in setting up seed banks to preserve the genetic integrity of these ancient species that have been here for God knows how many hundreds of millions of years.
Oh, I think it's fascinating that people can open up Egyptian tombs and find seeds that will germinate today. They've been sitting there for 3,000 years, possibly more than that, and they have just been holding themselves together, and when they have light and sun, they open up. And I think that can be very symbolic for us. That having the right resources, that if you bide your time, if you're patient, if you have that strength within yourself, and then when the resources and the time is right, that you can flourish and blossom.
And that applies to many dimensions. Well, you've been here how long on the vineyard, Holly?
Going on my 6th year,
Okay.
so 5 years.
And where do you see your business evolving to, or what direction are you headed?
The consultations and coaching is a big part of where I want to go.
Now, the consultation's private in an office, or how do you set those up, on a telephone?
Usually they're on the phone.
Okay.
They're with people anywhere in the country I talk with, and Canada. So consultations and then coaching, which is a little bit different. Lifestyle coaching, helping people get through transitions primarily. I'm starting to work with different team members here on the island for retreats, to set up individual retreats for healing, say a 3-day weekend, as well as group retreats for businesses who want to get together and work on teamwork.
Awesome. Well, could you, as we wrap here, give us your website again?
www.vineyardherbs.com.
www.vineyardherbs.com. It's easy to remember. And email?
Holly@vineyardherbs.com.
Holly@vineyardherbs.com. It's very easy. Well, Holly, thank you for coming to Martha's Vineyard and sharing your abilities and your knowledge and your craft. And I think you're going to be flooded with people wanting you to take them on herbal walks in their backyards.
I hope so. It's one of my favorite things to do.
And thank you for being on The Vineyard Voice, not to be in any way confused with Vineyard Voice, which is my friend Patrick that he set up recently in the past couple of years. And when Patrick was setting that up, we sat down and talked, and we signed an agreement where he could use it for his purposes. But since The Vineyard Voice has been here for over 20 years, I was going to continue doing my programs with The Vineyard Voice. He's just Vineyard Voice, so that's the distinguishing difference. But Holly Bellebuono, thanks for being here, and thank you for joining us today on The Vineyard Voice.